There it is, Wednesday.
This is Star 106.5 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
When the nights have stopped treating my so now let it show on the wave without my free mind. Search the FM dial, you will find no free mind. From the ghetto to the office, I'm left to the sky. From the fuse to parliament, all the free mind. You free mind. It really is you. I got you free mind. It really is you. It's a perfect time. It's a perfect time. It's a perfect time. It's a perfect time. Star 106 hits a pleasant Wednesday. Good afternoon to everybody, and welcome to another Wellness Wednesday. As a matter of fact, it's a mental health check day. Good to have you in my company as always. Shouts out to everybody locked and loaded. Of course, I'll tell you how you got here. But nevertheless, I got to first say thank you to those that make this possible. Thank you to the Cleveland Clinic. Thank you to Pinder Tile, Click and collect light as we continue to share the why. Thank you, of course, to City of Hope, formerly Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Thank you to KFC. And of course, I want to say a big thank you to you. 106.5 on the FM band is how you got here. Happy Wednesday to you. Channel 976 on cable. And of course, to the Facebook faithfuls. Yes, Star 106 and Natural Empress on Facebook. So, with that said, it's time to welcome Dr. E into the fold. Good afternoon to you and happy Wednesday, happy summer, happy Hanukkah, happy Christmas, all of that good stuff.
Well, thank you for having me and happy to be here and happy birthday, belated birthday. So
Thank you. Thank
you
you.
you're this week. I'm in another week and a half. So don't worry.
What's the exact date?
The 30th.
Okay. All right. I got you now. I got
Yeah.
you. All right. So let's celebrate all my July. I can't just say Cancerian because you're Leo.
Yes,
But
I'm
to
very
all
much
of
Leo.
my July peoples, it's
Yes.
pretty good.
You know what? July's just a really good month. We could just talk about it. I mean, look at the sun is outside. You know, the weather is nice. We're taking advantage of that. Hopefully, it's helping our mental health. I will tell people though, it's interesting that I was telling a client earlier how summer is usually slower for therapists, and this year
Really?
it's increased. And it's usually slower because in the summer months, most people are, vacationing or doing a little, they're relaxing more. When the sun is out and people feel good, it shows. And I think a lot of it has to do with, summertime fun. You're a little lighter, more relaxed. There's no school to like fight the kids to get through, no, all that extra constraint of traffic. So typically for therapists, it's a little, this is when we take our vacation. Like I'm about to take my vacation. However, this year, it's been an increase, and I'm like, the sun ain't working like it used to. This must be the old. The new sun ain't working like the old sun. We need the old sun back because this is not helping the way it used to. And people are dealing with a lot more stuff than you would typically see this time of the year. Because I always tell people, there like you have therapeutic seasons, flows of when you know things will happen. This year has been very surprising, and it's just making me wonder how we're all really doing with our coping skills and how we're just getting along in life. I just can even talk about today's cases, and I'm just like, wow, like there's a lot of stuff happening, from the family secrets to the amount of like infidelity that's it's coming out, to the fact that kids are dealing with bullying. Like it's just so many different layers of things that are happening that are not typical during summertime.
Do you think that the fact that we are in a very active hurricane season, does that create any kind of anxiety for us, or generally because we know that we're in a hurricane zone, it's probable, right? Do we just bypass it as, yeah, well, that's what happens when you live in the Bahamas and you deal with it if and when it comes, or does it really create a serious level of anxiety?
I think it creates a serious level of anxiety, especially after that last hurricane. What was that, 2 years ago? Where I find that people are not only taking it more seriously that we do live in a hurricane zone, but I feel like they're more prepared, and how they're not just waiting to act. I find that a lot more people now have a little, at least small prepared stash if they have one, so they're just not waiting until the last moment, because that last hurricane, I think, gave the whole Bahamas a wake up call. And if you didn't adhere to that wake up call, then you're literally living in your own world, because they're inclined to experience those hurricanes. And I know they still are dealing with the effects. Every hurricane season, I have a few clients who will always get triggered, because it just reminds them of that time in their life. And especially as I think that hurricane happened like the first week of September. So as September, believe it or not, approaches, that anxiety just for the season just increases more, because we also know typically in our waters, that's when we tend to see more of them. But now this year we saw it. Like that's not the normal schedule anymore. We saw that hurricane a few weeks ago, that hurt the other parts of the Caribbean, and I'm sure it made all of us think differently about the seasons looking different, and a lot of it has to do with the global impact on the world.
Well, we were spared that time around, and of course, we're hoping, and I'm sure praying that the entire season will we would go untouched, right?
Yeah.
But I know for persons that weathered the storm, during Dorian in particular have those anxiety issues for the most part.
Yes, they do. And I would say that just picture the fact that you were without contact. You were, some people were in roofs for like 2 to 5 days until somebody was able to rescue you. And then on the other side of that, you weren't sure which family members, if any, survived. I remember hearing one story from a client in Abaco about how he had to hold himself and hold a family member because they went to a hurricane shelter and that place started to flood, and the water came in with such force that it like started to shove people out. And and I'm talking, this a big strong grown man, and he's just like, you know what it is, where you can't
Do anything.
sustain yourself and then other people are looking for you to help
Yep.
as well. He said that's an image you just never get out of your mind.
Wow. Wow.
It feels a lot of guilt comes with that.
Let's take a quick break on that. Of course, it's a mental health check on this Wellness Wednesday. Dr. E is in the house. More Free Your Mind coming your way right here in your hit station. We're Star 106 Hits.
Neurological condition shouldn't define you. At Cleveland Clinic in Florida, we do.
I can't imagine like what when you talk about the different cases that you're facing in more recent time, other than infidelity, children being bullied. What was the other one?
Oh, like I just heard a case of this client who had confronted her family like last year
What was
about
the other one?
some sibling, like some cousins who tried to assault her, and then she just found out that that same cousin, one of those cousins, did it to another cousin, and nobody wants to talk about it. So I told her, I said, you know, this is a huge family secret because they're protecting this predator,
What's
and
new?
nobody wants to talk about it because you know that aunt is the that's her child, but it's like y'all are, this is a family, this is a sick family, like that is not okay.
I wanna bring something to the table while you mention the word cousins.
Child, because these, I don't know, this is not an era of kissing cousins. That is not okay. Like incest is real. People really got to do
What
something.
you talking about, Willis? Hold on.
Star 106.5 FM. What up, it's DJ Khaled. Hey guys, this is Selena Gomez. Hey, it's Charlie Puth. And more of today's hit music.
Star 106 Hits, welcome back for your mind on a Wellness Wednesday, halfway through the week. Time for the mental health check. Dr. E is in the house, and of course, just a little catch up. We did a little catch up session. Um, you mentioned cousins a while ago, and we were talking about the different things that are plaguing our people mentally, and what your sessions look like these days, ranging from infidelity to family hidden secrets and so much more. And when you mentioned the word cousins, something came to mind simply because I was a part of a conversation in which um, a mother had pretty much put her foot down that her child was not going away with the rest of the family without her.
Okay.
And of course, the grandmother was like, I'm going to be there. What's the problem? Um, Almost like your child ain't better than nobody else, so one kind of situation, right? Um, and her argument was this: um, she's not comfortable with her girl child being around all of the male cousins in particular who are either same age and or older. And the funniest thing is she said to me, you wouldn't believe it, but most bad touch begins at grandma's house.
Absolutely.
And
She,
you
she,
agree?
I agree. And you know what it is? Because we don't suspect that it would be the people we're related to who would do those things to us. Like most grandparents not even thinking of child all the kids just playing and stuff together. I don't really have to watch them like that, right?
They
And
they all is
especially if you
family.
didn't raise them in those conditions. But this generation now has access to a lot
More.
more pornography, a lot more sexual content and stuff. There, have you seen some of these games, these shows that they watch? And so I feel like they're curious earlier. And let's not talk about the fact that puberty is happening earlier for them. So a lot of it does start at the family house, and usually it's at grandma's house because grandma's the reliable person who will watch them because that's a
All.
grandbaby. But
All.
a lot of times she ain't paying attention. Let's be honest. A lot of our parents are older to a place where they just ain't there. Like they are trying their best, but they can't sometimes give the best eyes. And so I agree with that parent. If you are comfortable and something is telling you don't do it, don't do it. Don't do it because family pressure. Let me tell you what's going to happen. If something does happen to your child, it's going to create not only a divide in the family, but those same people you're telling that, I don't want to send it for these reasons. If something happens, they aren't going to rally around you. They're now going to be filled with so much guilt, and they're going to probably try to push it back on you.
Right.
And that you got to help them with their guilt rather
Right.
than the fact that your child was
Just
assaulted.
violated my child.
Exactly. And so, I would just say, tell grandparents, just keep a little extra eye on the cousins and stuff like that, because it's sometimes just curious behavior that starts a lot of this stuff.
Me, teacher. Excuse me, teacher. Let's remember that for the most part, Grammys go to bed little early. Grammy tired. She have church. She have prayer meeting. She just cooked the whole, a
Right.
whole spread. She's tired. Grammy is going to bed and more than likely leaving everybody up. Everybody's up.
You're right. You know that most sexual abuse and sexual assault cases happen during the summertime. For us therapists, we know that. You know why it is? Because, like you said, everyone is just roaming the streets, playing with the neighbors, but also at grandma's house. And grandma's house is usually the one person who will watch the children for free. And so everyone gets piled there. And what people don't realize with that is that what's also happening around and at grandma's house. And so it's not saying that your parent is intentionally
Delinquent. Oh, yeah.
delinquent, right? Your parent sometimes can't handle it. So you have to make a different decision. And some people may be in desperate conditions, but you really have to ask yourself, is this the best decision for my child? And this is why y'all need to think about these things before you procreate, because if you ain't get the proper help, you shouldn't be procreating in the first place. But
No,
no, nobody
I
thinks
agree.
about those things.
Another thing is that grandparents, both I want to say grandma more than grandpa as such. Well, maybe both, right? But grandmothers in particular will not. No is not a part of their vocabulary for most. Now, the new Gen Z grandmothers who still have a life and they've beaten the road bad, that's different because these grandmothers are now 40. You know what I mean? So at 40, grandma's still traveling the world and, have a boyfriend and, living her life. I'm talking about the old school grandma. She's not going to say no. So when all of her children, because you don't want to at any time make it seem as if there's any favoritism amongst
Right,
her
right.
children. So she's going to say yes to all. So hence why, like you said, they're all going to pile up on her because she does not have the ability to
To
say
say no.
no. You know what I mean? So at her house now, after she have all of them, she's tired.
She
She's
is.
tired. She goes to bed. She's going to go to bed. And these children are left unsupervised for the most part until they're tired. And remember now, summertime is notoriously the time where children don't have to go to bed at 8 o'clock, at 9 o'clock. So they're up. different from our time when we didn't have all this social media and devices, right? It was just straight TV for the most part, right? And an encyclopedia. These children have everything at their fingertips. So, like you said, the curiosity is raised so much earlier. And this is where experiment time
Right.
happens. So
Right.
when you see a parent says, "No, I'm not sending my child," it's not that one thinks that their child is better, but as a parent, your job is to fundamentally protect your child at all costs. Now, who don't like it? It's
That's
it's
on
pretty
them.
much it's pretty much too bad.
But also, we have to remember too, some of us are also reacting to the experiences we know we had growing up, where we were sent to grandma's house or to that favorite aunt's house, and we knew what things might have happened in our times, which are, for some of us, may not be that far fetched from what we know our kids may experience. And we got it. Our parents, some of our parents are doing the best they could. But if you know better, then you do better for the next generation. So it's not that your kid is better. You're just wiser in parenting than your parents may have been. And again, resources are different. So if you do not have to send your child there, why would you? Why would you do that? And so if
No,
the person,
remember now, because in most cases, all of the children are going. So why is it that one or two children are not joining the pack?
and it's very simple, and you explain this to your children. If I can't be there with you to watch you the way I know that you need to be cared for, I'm not comfortable sending you.
Yeah, but
And
that means that you're questioning grandma or grandpa's ability. And some of these grandparents be like, "Well, I raised all of y'all. What's the story here? Why are you questioning my ability?"
you did raise us, and some of us holding on by the last straw, because if we really told you what we enjoyed growing up, you would probably have a heart attack on the spot. And
Real.
so really, what we have to do is, you have to do what's best and quiet the noise. Because at the end of the day, if something happens to your child, the first person people look to is you. You're responsible for your child, even if you send them with somebody else, right? And
Your
so
parents, though, you sending them to your parents, the people who brought you into this world, who raised you.
some of them people ain't good parents, let's be honest. Some of them people are not good parents, okay? And while they may be okay to watch for a little quick, you had a last minute appointment, and this is the only time you could get it, and you need to give them to grandma, hey, can you watch my kid for an hour or two? You know what? As parents, you justify that in your mind. You know what? It can't be that bad for that hour or two, but it ain't gonna be for a week, a weekend, and overnight, because I also know what those conditions are like. And so you do have to make the best decision. And the parents we had and the generation now is different. Because like my niece and nephews always say, my mommy don't typically say no to them. If she's saying no to them, it's because maybe it was just something outrageous or something like that. But they ain't no rules. They always tell you that. That's why they like to be around Grammy when she ain't around, because they get whatever they want.
Right. Another thing
So
another thing that we, I think, as parents need to be more mindful of when it comes to grandparents, and I think I learned this from my mother, as a matter of fact, right? Because we were those children that were not thrown on Grammy. All right, we may have spent a summer or two or three, maybe two or three times, right? But
mhm,
for my mother, it was, my God, Miss Millie had all of them children. She had 10 children, and she basically had all of her children's children, right? So yeah, so it's a situation where you're being mindful, you're being thoughtful that, you know what, I'm not going to add
right.
all
So
of that responsibility on this 70-year-old woman or 60-year, I don't know how old, I can't remember, right? But I think we need to understand that grandparents should have um, the right, first and foremost, to say no. And when I
oh,
mean say no, they should have the right, grandparents should have the right to say, no, I can't.
mhm,
And because you know the temperament of your parents, and you know they don't have the ability to say no sometimes, it is left to your conscience to not ask them to do too much. They've done, as far as I'm concerned, they've done their job. When you look at the other man versus the other man, right?
Mhm.
They carry their children to their parents' house to knit and bake cookies, and then they go home. The brother man, they leave the children all summer long, sometimes all lifelong. You talk to the average Bahamian, you hear, "Oh, I grew up with my Grammy." You know what that means? That parents pretty much got off scot free in terms of their parental role in their children's lives. And I think it's unfair to grandparents to have to do it all. I think we need to understand that grandparenting is a choice. It shouldn't be an obligation. You agree?
I agree. It's a choice because you've already raised your kids, or at least got them to a point of survival. We'll call it that, because some of y'all didn't raise them, but you got them to a point of survival on their own. And if you elect to want to be a part of it, then that is your choice. But we should not make our parents obligated for our responsibilities, because again, that's where we have to get this entitlement mentality out of our minds, because there are some grandparents who have boundaries, right? I have some friends who have kids, and they'll be like, "Oh," I'll be like, "So, hey, let's go out. Can you get like you and your hubby? Let's go do this." And they'll be like, "Oh, we ain't got nobody to watch." I said, "Well, what happened to like where are the grandparents?" They're like, "Oh, that's not that type of grandparent."
Cool.
Right? So they already know, like, this is not the grandmother you asked for that. But then you have some others who are like, please bring my children, they call them like that, bring
Yeah.
my children to me. Or every other week, we already have this on the schedule. You know, I do the pickup, I do the stuff. I feel like just know that it's an elected choice. And do not make them feel bad if they don't want to help. Some of them tired. I mean, they're so tired as grandparents, because honestly, they didn't have what we have, right? Which is we get tired of a job, we leave it. They worked to the point that they're so exhausted that they can't even be present for us. So you can imagine them being present for your child? No, their mental state ain't there.
Nobody's thinking that deeply though. In
But
Bahamian
also,
society, we
we
don't think that deeply.
well, let me tell you what y'all need to think about. Some of y'all like to go ahead. Oh, it's summer. Let me send my kids to the island because my
Did
mother
you read
or
that?
my
Did you read that?
grandmother moved back to the island. Let me just tell y'all the amount of cases of sexual, incestuous things that are happening on our island. Do not send your children unless you know that the person is watching, because the islands are much more free. Because Nassau ain't an island, we know that. But this is the capital. Like you, when you send and you when you
Wait,
send,
not to say that NASA is exempt. A lot of that still happens at
it does. But
family
it's
home.
even, I find that it's even worse on the out islands, because it's very limited in who you get to play with, and usually you're playing with the on the family property with your other cousins and other stuff like that during the summertime. And just because y'all blood related, we all know the saying, y'all not necessarily family. So somebody ain't thinking, oh, that's my cousin, I can touch my cousin. No, that's not happening. So please be mindful of that. And yes, you need a break, but you need to take that break out with the person you procreated with, not necessarily the grandparents or the islands. So just be mindful of that. If you ain't going with them and you don't know what's happening to your kid, please be mindful, because I don't know. I just want to fight some of these parents when I hear the stories, because I'm just like, so nobody thought that was happening? Like nobody?
Well, remember now, everybody is quote unquote so-called strapped for cash, and like you said, it don't pay. You don't have to pay for the most part to drop or offload your kids to your mother's house or to your
Everything
baby
that is
dad's mommy
free
house.
is not good. Everything that is free is not good. Let me tell you, I had a case last week where I hadn't seen this client for a while, and the client's mother came, scheduled an appointment. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And that parent found out, they live in a blended family, and that parent found out that the child was being sexually harassed by the stepbrother. And that parent immediately went to the police, took the child out of the house, and that's her husband's child, but child, you gotta go. Because and I said you did the right thing, because until you could find out exactly what the story is, you don't leave these two people in the same environment. And then on top of that, you acted because I have parents sitting there like beating themselves up about like, how did I miss this? Because I've asked several times, knowing that we have this situation. And the child said it like, you have asked me. I just didn't want to tell you what was going on. And so, and I had to reassure that parents, sometimes you could do everything in your power. And we got to figure out now why your child just felt like they couldn't say anything. We don't know what was going on
Fair.
in their mind.
Fair.
And so, but I'm saying that parent acted immediately, not knowing the whole story. It's just that I know my job is safety of my child, and then we can figure out everything else.
Let's
And
take a
so,
break right here.
yeah.
Let's take a break right here. Free your mind on a Wellness or Wednesday. We're in the midst of the summer. Things that happen at Grammy's house. Keep it locked. More Free Your Mind right here on Star 106 Hits.
Cancer treatment centers of them.
I like this one. So, see there, the brother man has shipped the kids to the island all summer, not a week.
No. Also, I know some. I'm like, ooh, child. I react to when I hear clients who still do that. I ask plenty of questions to put it in their head. Like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Now it's different if it's a Grammy, because sometimes I have this, like the grandmother who lives with you, who may be helping with the kid all year, and then they go home for the summer, so they take the kid with them. That's different. But I still just be like, did you ask your mother this? Did you ask your father this? Like, you gotta ask these questions.
No. See, because again, like this one says, no, yeah, that's it right there. Parents using these Grammys, and this is nothing new. Using these Grammys as a babysitting service, but babysitting services be for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. It don't be 3 months. It don't be 10 years. It's not. I think it's so unfair. I think it's deplorable. And I ain't gonna be that kind of Grammy either. You ain't gonna just drop off and gallivant. Oh, that's another thing. Hold on. Star 106 Hits. Welcome back. Free your mind on a Wellness Wednesday. Grandparenting and the role of the grandparents, especially during the summer months, and how it mentally affects them. But because they're old school for the most part, they're not attributing their fatigue and their overwhelming, what's the word? Being
Overwhelmed.
overwhelmed.
Right.
To they're not attributing it to their mental health. So for
Mm-hmm.
the most part, they're burnt out, but they feel that because they name Grammy, it's a must. This is their job. This is where the narrative is supposed to change. I think you talk about this new generation. I think we need to be doing things differently. Again, like I said, grandparenting is a choice. It should not be an obligation. And I think Bahamian parents need to be more mindful as to the load that they put on their parents, aka the grandparents. You know what I mean? And not make them feel guilty if they can't. And it's just something that I think we need to speak more about publicly, because this has just become embedded in our culture, and it becomes the cultural norm for us to just offload. And
Yeah.
when you drop to Grammy house, it's supposed to just be because you have something for the most part very important to do. It can be because you won't go to the club.
No, or it can be not only that, not only you drop them off, do you drop them off with provisions? Like, it's a lot of them just want to drop
Oh
them
no,
off
no, no,
with
no, no.
no snacks, no meals, no money, and expect these people who are, most of them are retired, to facilitate all of their needs. And
How
this
to get like that?
is
How?
this expectation we have. Like, and some
But
people
they
feel
don't work.
like,
They don't work no more.
exactly. And we know that little check they get from NIB ain't checking, because child, them little coins can barely, for some of them, pay for their prescriptions, which
Right.
they need in order to survive, or
Right.
to pay the bills in their house. And so I think it's just this expectation culture. Like, you just supposed to do this for me. You just supposed to. Who said that? Where's that written? Because I'm really looking for that. I really would like that information for someone to let us know, because at the end of the day, it is all about figuring out, if you're going to take on this responsibility of being a parent, do you have the resources to do it on your own? Because it's not guaranteed that your parental system will help you. That is not guaranteed. Nor should they be made to feel bad if they don't want to help. They may be tired. Some of y'all know y'all was terrorists growing up. They don't. They barely. They would say, "Oh, that's my grandchild over there."
No, but look
That's
at
it.
this comment. This is so real. You've raised me so well. Why not raise mine too? Instead of teach me to be as good a parent as you were to me. Absolutely. Facts.
So you know what? Because I'm tired. I did a good job with you, and I tired. That's the
I'm
simple as
tired.
that. I tired, and I don't. I feel like that's a full sentence. Like how no is a full sentence. I'm tired is a full sentence. I don't owe you no explanation. This is not my responsibility. You're a one night of coitus that you had fun. I was not there, so you need to figure this out. And again, you people know ahead of time what type of parents they have. Because just how my friends could say, "Oh, that's not the watching grandparent,"
Yeah, but
we
hold on. When you say, when your friend says she in that type of Grammy, is it said with any kind of animosity or more admiration? Because there's a difference.
right. And you know what? A lot of times it's not said with any animosity. Like different ones have different reactions. Some people feel like, well, you didn't do this for me, so the least you could do is do this for your grandchild. And so I have some who really realize, you know what? I have the mommy who I could go hang out with. Maybe we could go shopping, but that ain't the grand. They don't even want to be called Grammy. First of all,
First, okay,
don't even call me Grammy. I need a different name that does not seem so old.
okay,
So I feel like you already know, like that person will help out, but they ain't that person. Same thing when y'all pick these darn godparents for your kids. You're not the ones who want to show up to take pictures, and you're the ones who want to show up to do work.
yeah,
That's the same thing applies. So I feel at the end of the day, no one is obligated to help you with your kids. I don't care how bad of a parent they were. They're not obligated. And you have to deal with your own issues with that.
okay. This is where not procreating unless you have your coins, because sometimes you will have to pay for a service, and a service like every other service,
Mhm.
right? You have to be able to afford, because again, like I said, it is the cultural norm for us to know that grandma is that service and it's free.
So again, free is not always good. We need to remember that. At the end of the day, you need to be able to provide for your children. And if you cannot do that, you really have to reconsider your choices in that. That the fact that some of your parents will not help you or will never help you. Or maybe they're the parents. I have a friend whose mom will buy stuff. Like that's their job. Like don't ask them to babysit. They might even show up to the school, the school productions and stuff like that. But if your child needs to pay for like ballet, or if your child needs a new outfit, snap
Grammy's there.
down. And I'm like, it's okay. So you know what type of grandmother that is, and that's cool.
Okay.
I know another household where every summer, um, once a year, it's on the agenda. This grandparent system. It was mother and a father. They would take all the grandchildren away, right? And that's like a family tradition, and that's fine. But they still ain't that's the grandparents who will do stuff for you, but they watching your kid. Yeah, you come to the house and see if the housekeeper could do it. Like that's their job. That's their mentality. And ain't nothing wrong with that.
Let me read this one real quick. What about them who has Grammy raising their kids but won't give rules? No, don't do my child like that. No, don't hit my child like that. No, don't feed my child that. No, my child can't do that. How dare you give them permission? And I already told them no. That means you need to keep your child.
Exactly. I feel
Yeah.
that the rule is you should never give your child to somebody who you don't think would have their best interests at heart. And I always tell people this, like if I watching your kid, I can treat them just how I treat my child. So if you have a problem with any of that style, I'm the one. I am not the one.
Straight up.
And my
Straight up.
mother does the same thing. Like I can watch these grandkids, but it's my rules. And my sister and her fight about the fact that you go to Grammy's house, you have to mentally know your kid's about to get whatever. Okay? So you might have a nice strict diet at your house. That ain't happening in mommy house.
She
Mommy,
ain't that.
she ain't into that. Like, no, she ain't into that. So don't complain. Do not complain. I feel like you have to know what you're getting yourself into. But if you know these people, their first and foremost thing is to love your child, and they're going to always do in their best interest, then you have to let it go, because unless you're paying for a service that you could tell them,
What to
here,
do?
I'm dropping my child off. Here is all the meal stuff. Here's the timing I'd like my child to eat. Here's the time I'd like for a nap. Here is all of these things. And then you pay, and at the end of the day, then your mouth needs to be shut. Now you can have a conversation with preferences. Okay? Preferences are totally welcomed. But just know I prefer to do it my way.
All right, Frank Sinatra.
So I will hear you and listen to your preferences, but I probably ain't giving two craps about what you're saying. Unless it hurts. Unless it hurts, think about it. Unless it hurting your child, most grandparents can say, I raised you and you didn't die. So I would do the same thing. So if that means I spank, because I spanked you, don't bring your kid over here who don't understand spanking. If I used to feed you Chef Boyardee, and now your kid only eats fine dining stuff, don't bring your kid over here. I feel like it's that simple, right? Think about it. It's literally that simple.
Oh, God.
You just have to know what's best for your child, and this expectation, though, and let me tell you, I don't know. I feel like even the newer age of parents. So think about the fact that at some point you're going to be considered the grandparent. Are you going to be, what type of grandparent you could be? Because people are looking, feeling, and living longer and feeling younger longer. They ain't going to be the grandparents either who babysitting. I feel like we're getting away from that generation of grandparents anyway who do all this babysitting.
Yeah.
I feel like when you think about having a child, you should automatically think about how I can afford the help, because I don't think that's what we're gearing towards. We're getting further away from that, and not necessarily as a bad thing, because a lot of our parents did not have a plan. And because they didn't have a plan, they felt that their job was to be the grandparent and watch the kids. I know people now who are retiring and like, okay, I can catch you at Christmas because I have these trips planned, and the only time I have for you is this time. So are you mad at them? No, they live in their life. Retirement isn't a stop life. Retirement is, I will do what I want to do when I want to do it.
You see what I said? For the most part, the other man, them don't have this problem. Here comes Renee, says in foreign, they don't have them free babysitting grandma issues because they know the time. Grandma, you could come to grandma's house during the Christmas to bake cookies and knit sweaters. And then that's it. That's it. The freeloaded doesn't happen. That's not how they work. I tell you, it's a cultural thing, and it's a cultural norm here in the Bahamas.
It's an expectation, and we get it. I think our very Caribbean mentality was we were very much more collective, and things like that happened. But we also have to be realistic about what was the impact of that. Was that always the best decision to be made? And is that where the next generation is going? Because I mean, I wouldn't, if I become a grandparent, I wouldn't mind helping out, but I ain't trying to have a life. I trying to be as agile, as healthy, as long as possible. So I can help you every now and then, but don't expect you who can tell me what I can do with my time. Right. Because I might have things to do. I
Not only that. The thing we spoke about earlier, even if you are physically able, right? You still trying to preserve your youth, meaning that you want to go to bed at a respectable time. You ain't trying to sit up and babysit with teeth and pains and running belly at 3 a.m. You causing me to lose sleep, which is going to make me older, right? And then you don't necessarily have the patience that you used to when you were a parent. When you were that parent, you had to. I think what?
I just think that you just brought up a great point. It's the patience, right? When you are at a certain age, that's why they tell you to have kids, right? Because your level of being able to deal with the next generation is there. Typically, the best age I say for parenting is anywhere, believe it or not, from like 25 to maybe like 35.
And that's it.
And again, mentally now we look at 25, 35-year-olds and you're like, ain't no way I'm doing this right now. But that usually because you are a little bit more youthfully and spriteful and you could do certain things. I honestly, now if I look at it, I think the best age for parenting is anywhere from maybe about 30 to 45. Because
but you don't have at 45, it's a risk, one. But
Yeah.
two, you don't have the same agility. You don't have the same patience level. You don't have the same mental stability in some cases, to be parenting, be running behind no toddler at 47, a 2-year-old at 47, close to 50. Who does that?
But maybe if it's the new generation now, we see the people who have waited, build the
No, sir. You
resources,
waited too long.
and
Mm-mm.
build
Too
the team.
long.
I don't know though. I'm a little tossed up because when we look now, like let's look at a lot of celebrities. They get
Oh, no,
pregnant.
no, 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 no. Don't look at celebrities. That's the problem right there. You're looking at Janet Jackson at 50 and whoever else who do that
And child,
madness.
she got pregnant by a billionaire, so they can afford to have that because I sure that kid have
That's
a
my
team.
point.
The
We
kid
don't
come out with
have
a team.
we don't have Janet money. So
No,
that's
but
the
here's
thing
the
is,
other part. A lot of people don't make it or figure out their career till about 28, maybe
right,
30. So
right.
that's why I said I would think they would want to wait till at least that point because then you're in a financial place to help. But
This
but
guy
I
kill me. Beats wants to chime in real quick before
go
we
ahead.
close out.
I was gonna say that, afternoon, Dr. E. I feel
Hi.
like a big factor in it, but a lot of people shy away from admitting is that, a big role in how well your kids are taken care of is honestly how badly you want them. Yeah, at the age of 25 to 30, you have all the energy in the world to take care of the children, but did you want to?
Right.
At 25 to 30, more than likely when you had those kids, that was not a plan. A
True.
person who's having a child at 45,
It's planned.
Mm-hmm.
you plan that.
Yeah, but
It ain't happening without planning.
yeah, but even if you plan it, what I'm saying is biologically and anatomically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
you may be able to physically reproduce, right?
Right.
But what it takes to effectively raise that child, especially within the first 10 years, you may not have that kind of stamina anymore.
But then that's where the desire comes in, and the
I
desire
don't
is the
care what
X
you
factor.
desire.
Empress, you never heard of mind over matter?
Yes,
It's
I get it.
easy to do things as hard as it is when you really want to do it. But if you don't want to
But
do
when you
something,
tired
you could have all
beats,
the energy in the
I
world
don't
and you
care how
ain't gonna
much
do
you
it.
love. Listen to me. I don't care how much you love that little sugar dumpling who is just the cutest, cutest thing, the cutest, cute as a button. The truth is, at any age, I think pushing over 42, 43, I wouldn't go as far as 45. There's absolute,
Yeah.
even if your body is able to do it, what it takes, the fortitude that it takes to raise children, especially within the formative years, a lot of people, you just don't have it. Mentally, you're not there. Thank you, Renee. Mentally, you cannot handle it.
Yeah.
Dr. E, I'm sure you have had situations in your office where people waited late, they plan and they're all happy. But the truth of the matter is, when you get into the trenches, you realize that mentally it's tougher than if you were under 40 or within that same parameter of 25 to 35. Am I telling a lie?
I don't know. It's so different now. Like I feel like it really depends on the person more than it does the chronological age. Because I have some friends who have kids who had them much younger, and honestly, I feel bad for their kids. Like I
Well,
feel bad because they weren't ready. They really were not ready physically. They could produce
sure,
and
produce, yeah.
but but financially, emotionally, those kids still gonna need therapy because they weren't ready to be parents. Now I think if they had just waited a little bit longer because they hadn't yet come into their adulthood, then it would be better. And so then when I see people who are intentionally choosing not to have kids until a certain point, knowing
Even
the
then,
risk, I feel a little differently because I have a friend who recently just had a kid and they had to go through some stuff to have that kid.
right. They
And
wanted it. I get it.
they really wanted it and they were so intentional about it. So they planned lots of stuff, meaning like they planned how they were going to do the care for the kids. They planned out because the first thing they said to me is, look, my husband want me to really have more than one, but I know that the responsibility of this is going to ultimately fall on me, even though he can be a good daddy, which he is. But he ain't me, and he's never going to take do the majority of what I'm going to do. So she said, I'm only going to have one child. And after we see how this goes, then I'll decide if I'm going to have another. And so she just had that kid and she's 40. But she says, I'm mentally ready for this. I already know that I'm putting my life on hold by choice.
She can do it. Wait, you said she can do it again after 40?
She's considering having another one.
No, sir.
So, I mean, I feel like it's the intentionality behind what can happen. And honestly, like if even when I spoke, like I'll say this, I went to a fertility doctor just to say, hey, what's going on? These eggs scrambled yet or what? And so the doctor was like, actually, yeah, eggs look better than some of these younger girls I see. So you still have time if you
again, like I said, your body may be able to
but your
produce.
mind,
Listen, and anybody who's already had kids, women can attest that at a certain age,
yeah.
it's going to be so much rougher than
Yes.
somebody who is within that 25 to 35 window. Again, like you said, being intentional about it, you want it, you're going to do more. But then again, life happens and the body is the one body that you have will react. I promise you.
It will react, but here's the other part about it. At 28, I just know that wasn't going to be possible. I had no money. I had no. And they say 20. And the reason I say 28 because they say women's ideal age for having kids is 28, honestly. But how many 28-year-olds you know right now, today, could have a kid on their own, successfully have a child on their own, even if they're married? Like, I mean, do that with no grandparents, none of that stuff. Financially afford to have a child at our like right now. I think it's a lot of factors, but
And
please,
all it takes is effective planning.
it
And
does.
that's where we go wrong in this society and this, in the Caribbean, in the Bahamas, where we just wing it. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. And that's not necessarily the way to live life.
And we can talk more about this because we can talk about how people just wing it too with their marriages. Because I know
Oh,
somebody who got married last week who already know the marriage ain't gonna work, but their wedding was planned. But anyway.
You know what? I'm putting you back in the corner. Please come back and see us soon. We got to continue this one. Dr. E, tell them where to find you.
You can give my office a call, 425-0718. Again, it's 425-0718. Or better yet, hit up my website and you can fill out the form at rpc-ltd.com. Again, it's www.rpc-ltd.com. And so, Empress, again, have a wonderful rest of your birthday month because that's what it is for us July babies.
Thank you.
And I will see you on the other side of that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Folks, y'all know what to do. Keep it locked off of the hour, 5 o'clock. Your Drive at 5 comes your way. Your Hump Wednesday edition right here on Star 106 Hits.
Cancer Treatment Centers of America is now.
Trust me, y'all. Don't have no babies after 40. Don't mind Dr. E.
Look.
Don't have no children.
When I show up pregnant after 40 because 40 for me happening technically in a couple and I
right. No. I that's why I retracted. 43 maybe, but that 45.
Oh, no, I already have it. Yeah, I said if it ain't happening in the next 2 years, baby, it ain't happening at all.
Be intentional about it.
But the
Juice
other
for
managers do
life.
that. The other managers do that
Juice
too.
for life, eh? If I come to Juice for life, I can find me someone to juice for life. Hold on.
Anyway,
You need to be intentional. If the clock,
I've been intentional, and then people just open their mouth and I just be like, "Oh, I intentionally going over there." Look, when you go home, you might find me something. Tell me about it, okay? I don't blame people for connections, okay? Because you can't determine what happened. But I feel like that's the problem right now. We don't have enough space.
I have a friend who, when she hit 40, she had the money still. She went and got in vitro.
Someone tell me that, and I've considered it. I just was like, man, I really got to pay somebody for this. Like,
I
really?
know, right? No, you could juice for free, man.
That's my.
And then I have another friend who's just very selective. She said, "Hey, listen, man, I want to have a baby. You don't really have to be there. You understand?
Exactly.
Just give me a deposit into this account, right? Into my female account, and like you don't have to do nothing. I don't want nothing from you, but your deposit. That's it. And she had this child, and though the child knows that that's her dad, because she introduced the dude, right? Um, he's somewhat present, but she don't pressure him for nothing because as far as she's concerned, that's her child. So because again, like I said, time was ticking, and she's like, you know what? Let me just select. I'm gonna just select somebody that she knew. He's nice, respectable, good looking, all of that good stuff. And the child is absolutely a beautiful child, not just in look. She's excelling so incredibly in school. She's an intelligent little girl. She's a real sweetheart. Right. So it's just about planning. Everything is about planning. How you plan, what you plan.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
sure you have a friend who, once he ain't married, oh Lord of mercy. This one was, well, no, he wasn't. Well, Jesus, I can't even talk. All right. Yeah, you just have to be, the word of the day is intentional. This one
I
says,
be intentional. Anytime after this vacation, I super intentional.
okay, good.
I
I
get
won't have to
serious.
pay for no baby man. I gotta pay to have the child and pay child support once the child here. Madness. Yeah, no, you could get juice for free, man.
Let me go. Bye. I'll see you later. Bye, Beats.